Hi, good afternoon and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar by Several Nines. My name is Jean-Jérôme and I'll be looking after you for the next 60 minutes. If you have any technical issues, for example, with your GoToWebinar installation, then please feel free to contact me either on the chat box or in the question section of your control panel. I'll be here to look after you. You can also, of course, ask us questions on the content we'll be covering over the next hour. And again, feel free to use the question section of your control panel to ask any question on what you will be hearing over the next 60 minutes. Alternatively, you can also contact me directly via email at jj@severalnines.com during or after the webinar for any questions related to today's topic or any other topics, actually. So feel free to email me, jj@severalnines.com, and I'll get back to you, of course, in the best timescales. Just before we get started with the actual presentation, I just wanted to give you a quick overview of who we are and what we do. Several Nines is a company based out of Sweden in Stockholm, but we operate worldwide, and we develop a product called Cluster Control, which is an automation and management platform to run open source databases such as MySQL or SQL and NoSQL systems. The tool itself is used to deploy, monitor, manage, and scale open source databases. And as you can see here, in terms of automation and management features, there's a whole range of provisioning and monitoring features. So you can deploy clusters within minutes, whether it's on-premise or in the cloud. It's all real-time and historical information that you can see through the monitoring features. And on the next slide, we just have a brief look at the automation and management features, which are what makes Cluster Control stand out. And here it's all about doing backups. Scaling is an important feature. How to grow your clusters quickly depending on requirements. Configuration management. You can repair and recover automatically. So there's a whole range of features like this that you get in the enterprise version of Cluster Control. There's a community version which you can use for free and forever, which are the deployment and monitoring features. On the next slide, I just wanted to briefly show you the database systems that we support. So as I mentioned, there is SQL and NoSQL systems, and on the SQL side, it's all of the different MySQL flavors, as you can see here, including MariaDB, of course, whether it's for clustering or in standalone. We also support Postgres now, which is a new addition since a couple of months, and we've supported MongoDB for quite some time now. And there is a Percona version of that now, and of course the original version by MongoDB itself. On the next slide, then, just very briefly to show you who's using us. We have about over 8,000 community users to date, and just over 150 customers, and you can see just a range of them here, between telco customers such as British Telecom or Orange. There is publishing customers, government customers, across the globe again. So there's a good range of represented here. And this is really what we do. The topic today, however, is all around MySQL, database upgrades, both in replication and Galera setups. And before we get started with that, I wanted to ask all of you who are participating today a quick question. And this is to understand what kind of database setup you have today, so which and that you're working with, just to give us a good idea of the representation in the audience today. So whether you're using MySQL or Percona server for replication, MariaDB, MariaDB cluster or CoderShip Percona cluster, it'd be great to know what we have in the audience, and we can a little bit then target the discussions around that as well. So I give it a few seconds for everyone to participate. Thank you for taking the time to do this poll. And I'll share the results with all of you now in just 1 second. Thanks very much for your participation. I'm just going to close this now and show the results. Great. So not too surprisingly, most of you are on MySQL, in a form or shape replication. It's nice to see some MariaDB and also the CoderShip Percona cluster ones. That looks like an interesting spread. What do you think, Christoph, before you take over?
Yeah, I think both users of the MySQL application and different Galera flavors should I think benefit a little from this webinar. So yeah, I hope that we will deliver what you're expecting.
Great, thanks very much. And just to remind you that you can ask us questions throughout the session by using the question section of your control panel. But for now, I'll hand over to you, Christoph.
Okay, thank you, JJ. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Krzysztof Książek, and today we, as JJ said, we will be talking about database upgrades in both MySQL application and Galera setups. First of all, though, I would like to say a couple of words about our Become a MySQL DBA series. This is a series of blog posts and webinars where we try to help non-DBA people who look after their MySQL infrastructures. So we're sharing tips and good practices. We are discussing the most common activities DBA has to perform. So if you missed one of our previous webinars, then you can find them at our slideshow page and take a look at them whenever you want. So today, upgrades. First of all, we're going to talk about why upgrading is very important. Then I'm going to define two different types of upgrade that we will be covering today. What do we mean by them? We'll be talking about preparations for an upgrade, how to prepare for this process. Then we'll be covering minor and major version upgrades for both MySQL and Galera setups. And we will conclude talking about cluster control in context of MySQL upgrades. So the question, why upgrade? Why do we doing it? Why it's such important? Thing is that security incidents and downtimes related to different bugs and vulnerabilities in MySQL can create high costs. Whenever your database is down, most likely you're losing some kind of money, either because some contracts or some transactions can be finished or closed, or maybe there is some kind of security issue and you're basically losing some trust of your customers, of companies you're working with. So this is some kind of cost that you're that you are seeing when such incident happens. Patches and upgrades definitely they require constant attention because this is a never-ending process. So the new versions are being rolled out quite often, and they have to be installed and tested on a regular basis if you want to catch up with the development of MySQL. And this is keep sticking to the latest version is the only way to make sure that you're safe from known stability problems and known security holes. And this is the thing that many companies are failing in doing this. This is actually they fail or they choose not to, but that's another story. So on the next slide, I'm going to show a couple of examples from the changelog for MySQL 5.6.27. This is the latest 5.6 version. Obviously, 5.7 is GA, so 5.6 is pretty mature version in terms of the development. Yet we can see pretty nice examples of why upgrades are important. So the first point, under some circumstances, when using some combination of case-sensitive file system and some configuration changes, system may hang. So this is pretty bad. Another point, under some circumstances, let's say by repeatedly executing show slave status when there is a prolonged write lock, which is something which I wouldn't say very uncommon. It may lead to an assertion. An assertion. Assertion basically is a MySQL crash, so it just shuts down and prints a lot of diagnostic information in the error log. Third point, an assertion could be raised due to incorrect error handling if a select for update subqueries resulted in a deadlock. Again, under some circumstances, assertion may happen. And finally, the lead could check privileges for the wrong database when you're using aliases in table names. So we have one system hang, two assertions, two MySQL crashes, and one privileged escalation, because someone who is not supposed to be writing deletes may be able to do so. So I would say, as for the mature version, this is pretty serious list of things. So definitely, if you want to be safe, it's definitely worth upgrading. Here are a list of recently released MySQL 5.6 versions, along with their release dates. So as you can see, it's indeed a never-ending story, and it is indeed, the releases indeed happens regularly, every 2-3 months. So if you're committed to working on the latest version, this is definitely a time-consuming process, and it happens often. But that's basically a trade that you have to do, either security or less resources put into upgrade testing. Different types of upgrade. So we are going to define two types of upgrade. Minor version upgrade, which is like this third digit in the MySQL version. So we're talking, 5.6.22 to 5.6.27, for example. Those versions should be compatible regarding the features, and the backwards compatibility should be maintained among them. It leaves the performance as a biggest concern. Thing is that obviously MySQL restart, one way or another, it requires restart. MySQL upgrade requires restart. So restart may lead to DB statistics calculated differently, so it can lead to different query execution plans. Also, the restart itself, flushes all of the buffers, the buffer pool, table cache, anything else, making it, after the restart, MySQL needs some time to warm up buffers, and it can't provide the same level of the out of the box just after the restart. So the performance is definitely a concern. For major version upgrades, we are talking about 5 point something to 5 point something else, 5.5 to 5.6, for example, or even 4 point something to 5 point something. So, so in this case, well, everything may have changed between those versions, and changes can be incompatible. So obviously we have to, do a lot of extensive testing to confirm that our application works together with this new version, that we can perform this kind of upgrade safety. What's really nice is that on MySQL documentation site, you can find documents